All right, today we're diving into one of the most famous and maybe one of the most clever excuses in all of Chinese history. It all goes down at a super tense dinner party, the feast at Hongmen Gate. This was a moment that literally decided the fate of an empire. But the thing is, the story we've all been told, it might just be one of the greatest lies ever spun. So let's get right into it. These are the words right at the heart of our investigation. They were spoken by Liu Bang to his incredibly powerful rival, Shang Yu. See, Liu Bang's army had just snagged the Qin capital, which was a huge prize that Shang Yu thought was his for the taking. Liu Bang was totally outnumbered, completely outmaneuvered, and so he drops this line, this seemingly sincere apology. So the question is, was this genuine, or was it one of the most successful bluffs in history? When you really look closely at the historical records, and this is based on the work of scholar I. Hung Chen, Liu Bang's story isn't just a little suspicious. It completely falls apart. In fact, there are three major logical flaws that show his apology was really just a desperate lie. Let's start with the most obvious one. Liu Bang claims he was waiting day and night for Xiang Yu. Okay, so if that's true, why did he immediately order his troops to block the Hanggu Pass? This was the main way in. Xiang Yu didn't get a welcome wagon. He had to literally fight his way through Liu Bang's own soldiers. I mean, that's a really weird way to welcome the commander you've supposedly been waiting for, right? And then there's the second problem, the complete and total radio silence. If Liu Bang was just being a good, loyal subordinate who secured the capital for his boss, why didn't he send a messenger to Shang Yu right away? Just a quick note saying, hey, the capital's secure, come on in and take over. That would have solved everything. But instead, crickets, nothing. And that silence is absolutely deafening. But this third flaw, this is the real nail in the coffin. It's not about something Liu Bang did, but what he didn't do. And it happens during this really suspicious gap of time. We're not talking about a small oversight here. This is a massive hole in his alibi that you could drive a chariot through. Okay, so just look at this timeline. This is where the story completely unravels. Xiang Yu shows up at the blocked pass in the middle of the 11th month, but he doesn't actually get to Liu Bang's camp until the middle of the 12th month. That's a whole month. Think about that. For 30 days, Liu Bang knows this huge, furious army is breathing down his neck, and he does, what, nothing? He says nothing. If you're really waiting for someone, would you just sit there in silence for a month while they're right outside? No way. It just makes no sense. So, when you put all three of those pieces together, you've got the blocked pass, the total silence, and that bizarre month-long delay, the conclusion is pretty much unavoidable. Liu Bang's claim that it was waiting for his general was a complete fabrication. It was a lie he cooked up on the spot to save his own skin. His real plan was to do exactly what his advisors told him to do. Block the pass, don't let any other lords in, and rule the land of Qin all by himself. Now here's where it gets really interesting. If we accept that Liu Bang was lying, well, that completely changes how we should look at two other key guys in the story, the ones who have gone down in history as his betrayers. What if they weren't traitors at all? So this is the big question we have to ask. The traditional story, it paints them as these simple, disloyal backstabbers. But what if Liu Bang was the one actually trying to grab power? If that's true, then maybe their actions weren't treachery. Maybe they were just being rational. Maybe even logical, given the military and political reality of the time. Okay, let's take a look at the first so-called traitor, Cao Wushang. He was an officer under Liu Bang, and he's the one who sent a message to Shang Yu blowing the whistle on Liu Bang's plan to become king. So the story goes, what a betrayal. But hang on, let's look at this from a different angle. Cao Wushang wasn't just ratting out his boss. He was reporting a junior officer's rebellion to the overall commander-in-chief. His loyalty was to the high command, and yeah, he was probably hoping to get a nice piece of land for his trouble. And you've got to understand the context here. It is absolutely crucial. Zhang Yu wasn't just some other warlord. He was the guy. His title was Supreme General of the Feudal Lords. He was the commander-in-chief of the whole rebellion. And Liu Bang? He was just a subordinate. So if you're Cao Wushang, where does your loyalty lie? With your direct boss, who's clearly going rogue? Or with the top general of the entire army? See, from his point of view, he wasn't a traitor. He was basically a whistleblower reporting a problem up the chain of command. And you can apply pretty much the same logic to Shang Bo. Now, this was Shang Yu's uncle. He's the one who tipped off Liu Bang about an attack was coming. So was he betraying his own family, his own nephew? Or was he playing the role of a smart mediator, a kind of peacemaker? Think about it. The Qin dynasty was gone. It was a total power vacuum. Xiangbo was probably just playing the long game, making sure he had friends and influence with both of the guys who were most likely to come out on top. It wasn't about being disloyal. It was about political survival. Okay, so we've pulled apart the lie, and we've re-examined the guys who were labeled as traitors. But why should we care about this event from over 2,000 years ago? Well, because it's a perfect example of one of the oldest rules in the book when it comes to history. So at the end of the day, Liu Bang not only survived that dinner, he went on to crush Xiang Yu and found the incredible Han dynasty. And because he won, his version of the story, the tale of his supposed humility at Hongmen Gate, became the official history. And that's exactly why this matters. It's a reminder to always read history with a critical eye, and to remember that the stories we're told are often carefully crafted by the winners. Of course, this entire analysis isn't just pulled out of thin air. It's all grounded in the careful, meticulous research of the scholar who took a fresh look at these classic historical texts. All of this analysis is based on the work of Ai Hengchen. He's a Taiwanese scholar with a PhD in Chinese literature, and his deep expertise in literary analysis is what lets him dig into these ancient accounts, like the famous Records of the Grand Historian, and really give us the tools to challenge some of these historical narratives that we've taken for granted for centuries. Which brings us to our final question, something for you to think about. Liu Bang is remembered as Emperor Gaozu, the amazing founder of the Han dynasty, a true hero. But now we see that one of the most pivotal moments of his life, the story that literally saved him and secured his future, was built on a brilliant lie. So, does knowing that make him less of a hero? Or does it just make him a more complicated and maybe a more human figure?